Hey everyone, welcome back to Andi Can Help Live. I'm Andy, and before we dive in today, I want you to think about something for a second. When was the last time you bought something because you were loyal to a brand? Not because it was on sale, not because an influencer you follow posted about it, but because you genuinely felt connected to that brand. Now flip that question. When was the last time you bought something because someone you follow online recommended it? Someone who felt less like a brand spokesperson and more like a friend giving you advice. I'm willing to bet that second scenario happens way more often than the first one these days. Here's a stat that really drives this home. According to a 2023 study by Morning Consult, about 75% of Gen Z consumers say that they're more loyal to individual creators than they are to traditional brands. Think about that for a moment. 3 out of 4 young consumers are putting their trust in people, not logos. And if you're building an e-commerce business or creating content right now, that shift changes absolutely everything about how you should be thinking about customer retention and loyalty. So today we're tackling a big question. Is brand loyalty actually dead, or is it just evolving into something completely different from what we've known from the past decades? We're going to walk through how loyalty used to work, why that old model is crumbling, and most importantly, what's replacing it. We'll talk about community-driven commerce, creator-led loyalty, and I'm going to give you some really practical ways that you can start building some genuine connection with your audience, even if you're a small brand just getting started. This is going to be a good one to get us going in 2026, so let's jump in. Alright, so let's rewind a bit and talk about what brand loyalty used to look like, because I think understanding where we came from really helps us see where we're going. For decades, brand loyalty was pretty straightforward and honestly pretty transactional. You had your email list where brands would send you weekly newsletters with discounts and product updates. You had loyalty cards, those little punch cards at your local coffee shop, or those plastic keychain tags at the grocery store that you'd scan every time that you checked out. And then you had point systems, right? Spend $100, get $10 back. Buy 9 sandwiches, get the 10th free. It was all built around this idea of incentivizing repeat purchases through savings and rewards. And look, there's nothing inherently wrong with that model. It worked for a really long time. Companies like Starbucks built absolutely massive loyalty programs that drove billions in revenue. Their rewards program has something like 30 million active members in the US alone. But here's the thing, that loyalty was based primarily on transaction. You came back because you were getting something tangible in return, whether that was points, discounts, or freebies. The relationship was very simple. I give you a reason to send money, you keep coming back, we both win. Brands focus on customer lifetime value by making it financially beneficial to stick around, and in a world where there weren't 1,000 options for everything at your fingertips, where switching brands meant actually going to a different physical store or waiting for a different catalog to arrive in the mail, this worked beautifully. But that doesn't work in this world anymore. And the cracks in this model have been showing for a while now. So what changed? Why isn't that transactional loyalty model working the way it used to? Well, first off, we're all drowning in digital noise. The average person receives something like 121 emails per day according to recent data from Statista. Your inbox isn't a special place where you eagerly await brand newsletters anymore. It's a battlefield where you're constantly trying to get to zero unread messages. That promotional email from a brand that you bought from once, it's getting deleted without being opened, or it's not even making it past the spam filter in the first place. And what's making it more complicated for marketers like myself is that companies like Apple are using AI overviews and readouts before we're even able to register that an email has been opened by a human. So we're not even getting that open of human eyes being able to see our emails. It's being stopped it's being automated and stopped at the AI level. And then there's the speed of trends now. Fashion cycles that used to last seasons now last weeks. A product can go viral on TikTok on Monday and be completely forgotten by Friday. Consumers, especially younger ones, aren't sitting around and waiting for your loyalty points to accumulate. They're moving fast, discovering new brands constantly through their social feeds, and making purchase decisions based on what's capturing their attention right now. Here's what really changed the game. Consumers started switching brands based on content and connection, not coupons. A 5% discount code doesn't mean much when someone they trust posted an authentic review of a competing product that really resonated with them. The emotional pull of that authentic content beats the rational appeal of saving a few bucks almost every time. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is really the heart of what we're talking about today. Loyalty isn't dead, it's just being reborn in a completely different form. Instead of a transactional loyalty, we're seeing the rise of emotional and communal loyalty. People aren't loyal to brands because of what they save, they're loyal because of how they feel and who they feel connected to. This new loyalty is built on shared values, authentic storytelling, behind the scenes access, and genuine community. It's less about accumulating points and more about accumulating meaningful interactions and relationships. And honestly, this is both harder and more rewarding for brands to build. Now, I should mention something important here, especially if you're in certain industries. In larger markets where consumer trust is absolutely paramount, think foods, cosmetics, supplements, skincare, brands still need to communicate foundational trust first. Before people care about your community or your values, they need to know what you're selling is safe, legitimate, and does what you say it does. This is where things like ingredient transparency, certifications, third party testing, and clear sourcing information become critical. You can have the most engaged community in the world, but if you don't trust that your food product is safe or that your cosmetic ingredients are what you claim they are, none of that community magic matters. The good news is that transparency around these trust factors actually feeds into community building, and it's easier now more than ever on the internet, with the easier share of information. When you openly share your lab results, your sourcing practices, your ingredients lists, that becomes part of the authentic storytelling that builds emotional connection. And you can market that and you can really drive that to your consumers. So if emotional connection is the new currency of loyalty, then community is the engine that generates it. And when I say community, I'm not just talking about having a lot of followers or a big email list. I'm talking about creating spaces where your customers and audience actually engage with each other and you. This is what I call community-led e-commerce, and it's becoming one of the most powerful retention strategies out there. Instead of just sending broadcast messages out into the void and hoping people buy, you're creating environments where people want to hang out, share their experiences, ask questions, and genuinely connect. Let me give you some examples of what this looks like in practice. You've got brands creating Discord servers where customers can chat with each other about their purchases, share tips, and even provide feedback directly to the founders. There are brands using platforms like Geneva to build more organized community spaces with different channels for different topics. Facebook groups are still huge for this, especially with certain demographics and niches. I've seen brands with Facebook communities of thousands of people who are more excited about connecting with other customers than they are about the products themselves. But community doesn't always have to be this formal, platform-specific thing. Sometimes it's as simple as really engaging comment sections that become micro-communities of their own. You know those Instagram posts where those comments are full of customers helping each other out, sharing their own experiences, asking questions directly to the brand, or just having genuine conversations. That's community happening organically. And then there's the DM relationship, which I think is massively underrated. When small brand founders are accessible to their direct messages, when customers can actually reach the person behind the brand and have a real conversation, that creates a level of connection that no loyalty points program can really match. I've talked to so many small business owners who say their most loyal customers are the ones they've had genuine back and forth conversations with in their Instagram DMs or through email. This gets further amplified in niche communities. The beauty of community-led loyalty is that it creates this self-reinforcing cycle. When people feel like they're part of something, when they have relationships with you, not just the brand, but the other people who love your brand, that naturally becomes a brand that they want to advocate for. They stick around not because leaving would mean losing their points balance, but because leaving would mean losing their community and losing something that's really become a big part of their life. And that's a much stronger form of retention. I saw this play out on a small skincare brand recently that created a private Facebook group for customers. They started sharing behind-the-scenes content about product development, asking for feedback on new scents, and customers started sharing their own skincare routines and results with each other. Within 6 months, the repeat purchase rate jumped by 40%, and they directly attributed it to the community that they had built. People weren't just buying skincare anymore. They were buying membership in a group of people who cared about the same things that they did. Now, let's talk about the other massive shift that's happening in loyalty, and that's the rise of creator-led loyalty. Because here's the reality. People trust people way more than they trust brands. Think about your own behavior for a second. When you're considering a purchase, especially something that you haven't tried before, are you more influenced by the brand's own marketing or by a real person you follow sharing their honest experience with it. For most of us, it's the latter every single time. This is why micro-influencers and creators have become these such powerful trust anchors in commerce. According to research from HubSpot, 61% of consumers trust influencer recommendations, while only 38% trusted brand social media content. That gap is huge, and it tells you everything you need to know about where loyalty is actually living these days. What's happening is that loyalty is shifting to people first, then the brands are partnering with those people to earn trust by association. If someone trusts a creator and that creator genuinely loves and recommends a product, that trust transfers over. But, and this is crucial, it only works if the relationship feels authentic. People can smell a purely transactional sponsorship from a mile away, and it's really obvious. The brands that are winning with creator-led loyalty are the ones that are treating influencers and ambassadors as genuine partners and co-creators, not just as advertising channels. I've seen this work beautifully with brands that bring creators into the actual product development process. They're asking for input on product features, colors, scents, whatever. They're sending prototypes and incorporating feedback, and then when that product launches, those creators don't just post about it because they're getting paid, they post about it because they genuinely feel ownership and care about the project. Ambassador programs are evolving too. The best ones don't feel like affiliate programs where you're just pushing links for commission. They feel like families or clubs where everyone is genuinely excited about what the brand is doing. I know a small jewelry brand that has about 50 brand ambassadors, and they have a private group chat where everyone shares styling ideas, celebrates each other's content, and genuinely supports one another. The founders told me that these ambassadors drive more sales than any paid advertising that they've ever done, and the customer retention from those ambassador-referred customers is through the roof. Here's what's really interesting about creator-led loyalty. It's actually more accessible for small brands than traditional celebrity endorsements or big marketing campaigns ever were. You don't need to pay a celebrity 6 figures to post about your product. You can partner with micro-influencers who have a few thousand genuinely engaged followers and see incredible results. Sometimes these partnerships are paid, sometimes they're product for content, sometimes they're commission-based, but the key is finding people who authentically align with what you're building. And if you're a content creator building your own brand, this is exactly why your personal brand and audience are such valuable assets. Your brand trusts you, and when you create and recommend products, that trust transfers in a way that traditional brand marketing just can't replicate. Alright, so we've talked about what's changing and why it matters. Now let's get into the practical stuff. If you're a small brand or creator, how do you actually build this kind of community-driven loyalty? Because I know it can feel overwhelming, especially if you're just starting out. The good news is you don't need a massive audience or a huge budget to do this. You just need to be intentional and genuine. So let me walk you through some actionable strategies that you can start implementing literally this week. First, highlight real customers publicly. This is one of the simplest, most powerful things you can do. When someone posts about your product, share it. Repost their content to your stories, feature them in your feed, send them a personal thank you message. This does 2 things. It makes your customer feel seen and valued, which deepens their connection to you, and it shows your broader audience that people really love what you're doing. User-generated content is powerful not just because it's free marketing, but because it builds community by putting your customers at the center of your brand story. Now, I will say, please contact your customer first and make sure that they consent to you sharing their content on your behalf. Second, share behind-the-scenes content consistently. People want to know what goes into what you do. They want to see the messy middle, the failures, the process, the real human stuff. If you're making products, show your workspace. Talk about how you source materials. Share the story of why you started this business in the first place. If you're a content creator, talk about your creative process. This kind of transparency builds connection because it reminds people that there's a real person behind the brand, not just a faceless company. And if you're in a trust-critical industry like food or cosmetics, this behind-the-scenes transparency becomes even more important. Don't just show the pretty finished products. Show your sourcing process, your quality control, your certifications, how you test your products. This kind of content serves double duty. It builds the trust that's non-negotiable in your industry, and it creates the authentic connection that drives modern loyalty. People want to know where their food comes from and what's in the products they put on their skin. When you make that information accessible and interesting, you're building both credibility and community at the same time. This is huge. Third, and this is huge, invite feedback and co-creation. Ask your audience what they want to see next. Run polls about product ideas. Send surveys to your most engaged customers, and then actually listen and implement what you hear. When people feel like they have a voice in what you're creating, they become invested in your success in a completely different way. I've seen brands ask their Instagram followers to vote on product colors or names, and the products that win these votes always sell better because the customers feel like they had a hand in creating them, and it's the most direct form of customer data research that you can conduct. Fourth, build an exclusive space for your most engaged people. This could be a Discord server, a private Instagram broadcast channel, a Facebook group, or even just a close friends list on Instagram where you share extra content. The platform doesn't matter as much as the intentionality. Give people a place where they can connect with you and each other outside of the regular public feed. This is where real community happens, in these more intimate spaces where people feel comfortable being themselves and building relationships. And here's a pro tip. You don't need to start with something huge. Start small. If you have 50 customers who are really engaged, create something just for them. A monthly Zoom hangout, a private group chat, exclusive early access to new products, whatever feels authentic to you and whatever gets them excited. These 50 people will become your biggest advocates and they'll naturally help you grow from there. And finally, surprise and delight them in unexpected ways. This doesn't have to be expensive. Handwritten thank you notes, surprise samples of new products, shoutouts in your content, featuring customer stories. These little moments of unexpected connection create memorable experiences that people talk about and remember way more than a 10% off code ever could. Now, I want to be real with you about something, because it's important that for both the opportunity and the challenge here. While this new form of loyalty built on community and emotional connection is incredibly powerful, it's also more fragile than the old transactional model. And here's what I mean. When loyalty was based on points and discounts, it took a lot for someone to actually leave. They had accumulated rewards, they calculated your program gave them the best value, and switching meant starting over somewhere else. There was friction in leaving. But emotional loyalty, that can break in an instant. One major mistake, one misaligned value, one moment where you break trust, one statement where you're tone deaf and you walk away from your true messaging, and people can walk away without looking back. We've all seen brands get canceled or face boycotts because of something they said, did, or were associated with. In the age of social media, these moments become public, they spread fast, and they can undo years of communities building overnight. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because understanding this fragility should inform you how you show up. The brands that maintain long-term loyalty in this new landscape are the ones that are consistently authentic, consistently aligned to their stated values, and consistently honest even when it's hard. This means that if you make a mistake, you own it. You don't hide behind corporate speak or try to spin it. You acknowledge it, you apologize genuinely, and you show what you're doing to make it right. Your community will be way more forgiving of honest mistakes than of dishonesty and avoidance. It also means that you need to be really clear and consistent about what you stand for. Your values can't just be marketing copy or about your page. They need to show up about how you source products, how you treat your team, how you engage with your community, what causes you support, and the way that what you're willing to say no to. And here's the thing, you can't be everything to everyone, and that's okay. It's better to have a smaller, deeply connected community that truly aligns with you than to try to appeal to everyone and end up meaning nothing to everyone. Consistency is everything in building this kind of loyalty. People need to know what to expect from you. That doesn't mean you can't evolve or change, but it means your core values and the way you show up should feel stable and reliable. If you're posting and engaging every day for 3 months and then you disappear for 3 weeks, that kind of breaks the rhythm and connection. If you're super accessible and personal in your DMs until you start getting busy and then you suddenly become distant, people will really notice that shift. And the good news is that when you build this kind of genuine values-based community loyalty, it's incredibly durable against the things that used to break loyalty, like competitors offering better discounts. Your people stick around not because you're the cheapest option, but because they genuinely care about what you're building and they feel connected to the story and your community.